Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are going to hop right into part 2 of the masculine space that I refreshed. First thing I want to touch on here is the wall color in this space. I know that when most people think about a man cave or a masculine space, they think a darker tone. And I, in fact, was going to go with a darker tone initially. After talking to him and getting more of an idea of what he was looking for in his room, one of the things that he mentioned was pretty much his entire career, he's worked in something like a dungeon, or the rooms that he's worked in, the areas that he's worked in, there's not been very many windows. And so he didn't like the fact that the space would feel dark, even though he loved the richer tones. So that was my green light to go ahead and go with this lighter shade. The color that I have is Nuance, which is in a couple of different areas throughout the house. And for those of you who are not very familiar with Nuance, it is a very warm tone, white, but the undertone of it is slightly green. Gray to me, but I did a little bit of research on it, and the paint specialists say that the undertone is green. And once they told me that, now I can see a little bit of green with it. But we're going to go ahead and get into this space. Okay, so the first thing we're going to chat about is this huge leather sofa. Yes, it hits you in the face as soon as you walk into the space, and that is because it is extremely large. It is almost like a soft leather, but it does have some rigidness to it. But I do have to say that this is one of the most comfortable leather sofas I think that I've ever sat on. And I know you've seen these around. We were contemplating if I was going to get rid of it or not. I wasn't sure if he really wanted to keep it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats, and they're huge seats. Two people can actually sit in these seats at the same time. Two people can sit in the seats at the same time. That's me being nosy. This reclines as a power recliner. This reclines as a power recliner. The one on the end over there reclines as well. And this piece right here does not recline, nor does this particular seat right here. So you have 3 seats that actually recline, and then you have this corner piece in this seat this seat can actually stand alone. But if you notice, the armrests on them are huge, and it's just super large and provides a ton of space. Let me just lean over here. So remote's here, but in here, to keep my hair out the way here. And here is all of his remotes that he keeps. He actually hooked up a iPhone charger in here, so you can plug up your iPhone and all of that stuff. 2 drink cups, and then all of the arms are just so large, so huge, and very, very comfy. So we've had this also for a pretty long time. So we decided not to get rid of it, and I think it's nice. I think it works well in his space, and I'm actually kind of glad that he didn't get rid of it. All of that to say, great seating is imperative for your man space or your masculine space, however you want to look at it. Great seating is an absolute must. And then this shelf right here. So this shelf I actually got for my living room a long time ago, and when we moved into this house, it was no longer going to work in the space that it was in. So after thinking about it for a little bit, I realized that I thought it was better to bring and use in his space, because then I could display a lot of his keepsakes on there, his sentimental items. And if you haven't figured it out by now, he used to be in the military, retired. So a lot of his things over there, like his coin, the sword here in the shadow box there, the 2 stacked swords that you see there, He got those in Japan, and that is where we actually met. He also had this little, I don't know what you call it, but the little statue there. He also had that when I first met him. And yeah, so encyclopedias there, which I thought they would go great in here. I don't know how many of you guys were used to have encyclopedias when you grew up, but very nostalgic for me. Um, they also were the very first, like, really expensive thing we bought together as a married couple. And the people were coming by doing door knocking and selling those. So those encyclopedias are like mad expensive. He has this shadow box with all of his coins in there. Some things that the girls got him for a Father's Day at one time or another. There's a jar with some sand in it from a location that we had been to, and just some more things over there, some of his books and things like that. But I thought the shelf would work perfectly in here. Then we had this art piece in his last man cave, and we really loved it. I mean, really loved it. So he was suggested, he really wanted to have this in here because he's also a writer. And so I just thought this was pretty neat as well, and picked this piece out without him knowing about it. But I wasn't going to bring it into this particular space when this one was put together. But he was like, he really wanted it in here. So we bought it in. I do think it's a very nice piece. I think it is very descriptive and definitely describes a little bit about him as a person because he is a writer. Now, let's come on over to this side of the room. This is that TV that I was telling you guys about. This is one of the ones that he also bought the little white piece for, cut the hole in the wall, and then he just trailed the cords through the wall down to the outlet, so there wouldn't be any cords hanging. But this is his nice big TV that he gets to put all of the games on. So he'll have like 3 or 4 different games on at one time. Then he'll have some games on that television over there. And I'm just incredibly thrilled that he can come in here and just set the scene and the vibe in his space, especially during his favorite time of the year. Now, these are actually some favorites of mine. Normally, I really wouldn't care about this, but I just think it's so neat and so cool. These hands, they're long screws in the wall, and then the hands are screwed onto those screws, and they hold the guitars here, and I just love the aesthetic of them. I love the vibe. I love what they feel like. So this was a must. Now, as far as the coffee table goes in here, he had a request, and the kids had a request too because they also played a lot of games, but they really wanted something that would move. The reason being, they would get together, play games, play the Wii, and games that require them to be like active. So having a coffee table that could easily be moved out of the way was one of the big things that he wanted. And so I made sure to find something that they could easily move. So it definitely has a little bit of weight to it, but it rolls. And so I love that. Now, I also want to mention, if you notice, the coffee table underneath has openings. There is still some design down there around the bottom of it, but it does have an opening so you can still see the floor underneath. And so one of the things that I like to make sure that I do when I pick coffee tables, if it's a space that's not huge, I do like to get coffee tables that have openings on the bottom because it helps the space feel a little bit more open. If you notice, we don't have a carpet over here. We got these floors done a little over a year ago, about 1.5 years ago. This was all carpeted, by the way. But we had the carpet removed, had flooring. This is luxury vinyl put down. So the flooring is not cold. It's kind of soft. It feels good to the feet. And so it also made the space feel even more open. So while I am still looking for a rug to put into this space, I don't just want to put any rug in here. I'm also enjoying not having a rug in the space because it definitely makes it feel a little bit more larger. One of the things we haven't done is sprawled out over the floor because there's no rug over here. So eventually I'll get a rug in here, but it's not really a big deal because this is so huge. We're always laid out on this, and I'm going to show you how far back this thing reclines. There, so it does go all the way back, and you can use this thing as a bed. If you have guests over, they can sleep in this thing, and it feels like a bed because it's so plush and it's so soft. This one lays back just as far, and so does the piece over here. So now you can see why it was a little bit difficult making the decision to actually get rid of it. So one of the things that I definitely want to point out is you don't always have to get your pieces all from the same place. Sometimes it's nicer and the spaces will feel a little bit better when they are more collected. This was an old entertainment center, so when we refreshed the space, we didn't have to pay anything for this. It just was a piece that we reused. I thought I was going to repaint it, but I actually like the way the color works with this. And then it also has this aged and worn look to it, so it's not perfect. And I just think that adds to the whole masculine space. Man cave is in his garage. He has a lot more of his artwork and his bikes, and so that feels more like the cave, and this is more his lounge-like area, and I love that idea. All right, so let's chat a little bit about this side over here. This is an old cabinet that he had in his last man cave as well, and I'm going to share something. So he does love the color red. I'm totally not a fan of red at all, but he loves red. I almost repainted this thing, but he did not want me to repaint it, so we worked it in. So we have that as the red. If you notice, there's a little bit of red in his shadow boxes, and then you saw where I did add some red to the table over here, and then also the console, just some little red accessories to help bring it out and spread load it to both sides of the room. But in this cabinet, he has his old, I'm going to call it a vintage. It's not true vintage, but it's a very old stereo system that he had also when I first met him. He's been lugging that with him everywhere we've gone, and we've moved a lot of different places. Everywhere we go, it comes. Finally, the speakers are somewhere else. He might have gotten rid of them, I don't know, finally, but the stereo system he's been hanging on to. So that's in there. And then of course you see here, globes, you guys. I told you he loves globes and maps. So we got him some globes and added here for just some additional decor. And then I love this Muhammad Ali poster here. He's kind of a fan, so to speak. So not like a huge fan, but he likes Muhammad Ali. So I found that, and I thought this would be a great thing to add to his space as well. If you notice behind me here in the mirror, you can see that it's reflecting the hallway, and it just looks like the room has some additional space, even though it does not. When you come into the room, it doesn't feel like you're abruptly hit with a wall there, because what you're visually seeing is the additional length of the hallway. So I love that effect of it, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. So let me show you one other thing on this side that I forgot to show you. I found this rotating helmet online. I bought this for him one year, I think for his birthday. It was in addition to another birthday gift, but I thought this was so cool. The spinning helmet, and I haven't bought another one in here, but I'm tempted to bring a helmet for my football team in here. But right now I'm leaving his. We've had it for, we've had this for a long time as well. So a lot of his sentimental items and just little things that he enjoys having. I wanted to make sure that we bought that into the space. And then of course, a C table, so necessary. So if you don't have a C table, you guys should probably invest in one. A C table is like the most awesome thing. I have them not only in here, but I also have C table in my family room. I have one in my living room, and I just think they are super useful and just great to have. So some of the key things to take away of what was bought into this man space to make sure that it had that masculine vibe outside of the accessories that I bought in. We're gonna say we bought in this huge television here, which he loves. Again, he can put several different games on the television at one time. Love that. But then also added an additional television over here with the swivel effect to it, so people can watch it from different areas of the room. We decided to put it right here because we bought in this table. If you saw part one of my video, then you know how much I was crushing on this table because I am a fan of black oak, and I thought this was beautiful, very sophisticated looking, but casual at the same time. You don't feel like, oh my gosh, if I slam a domino on it, it's gonna break. I think this was a perfect addition to the space. And then of course, these chairs that I love so much definitely gave him everything that he was looking for. It has matching nail head trim to the ottomans that are over there. They have nail head trim as well, and it matches, all bought at different times. So love how that worked out. And they swivel. Love that. We have this huge tic-tac-toe board here, huge tic-tac-toe board, wood finish, different color staining. It's gorgeous. Bought this in here for an activity on the wall, and also these sconces. So in part one, let me fix this. In part one, of course, you can turn them on by just tapping them there. I used the wrong remote when I was sharing what these look like on, so I'm gonna get the remote. Okay, so I'm gonna get the remote and show it to you guys of what they look like on. So this is actually the remote for them. I had the big white remote in my hand, and that remote was actually for the light that we put inside this console. So let's, boom. These should probably be sitting somewhere else, but they work off a remote, and I did put the link to these in my last video, so I'm going to put the link to them in this video description as well. So if you're interested, I think these are great. They're battery operated lights, and they come with a remote. So yeah, pretty doggone awesome. We have the popcorn machine right here that I touched on. A popcorn machine that has a little bit of meaning there. We met in a movie theater, like not our initial scene of one another, but our initial conversation and knowing who one another was in a movie theater at our second jobs. But all right, I'm gonna turn these off. But I also bought in this buffet. Finding this where it could sit just behind the table and be a perfect match to everything else that was going on in the room was like a knock out of the park. Like it was like 2 thumbs up. It made sure that we had enough seating in the room to accommodate a good amount of people if he wanted to. I bought in some artwork that I thought would be perfect in the space. His guitars, made sure that they were front and center on the wall because he likes them. All right, guys, so that's all that I've done in this room. I do hope that you've found some inspo. If you have any questions about any of the items that I posted, feel free to leave a message in my comments. Also, I am going to try to list as many links as I can, and then over on my Like to Know It, I will put some like items very similar to those that I've shown you here in the video. Again, I hope that you found some inspo. If you enjoy this content, be sure to click the like button, subscribe, and then share with others so that they may find me here in the community. Bye now.